Hi everyone, welcome back to these processes from the project management body of knowledge. This one in particular is Manage Project Knowledge. Now, where does Manage Project Knowledge sit in the overall PMBOK guide? Well, first of all, we're within the Project Integration Management Knowledge area, and we're currently in the Executing Process group. So we're now delivering on and creating those deliverables for our project. And as we go along with creating these deliverables and creating the things that we need to do for our project, we need to also manage the project knowledge, create new knowledge, and also ensure that previous knowledge that has been captured is used to our benefit for our project as well. So what is Managed Project Knowledge? Managed Project Knowledge is the process of using existing knowledge and creating new knowledge to achieve the project's objectives and contribute to organizational learning. So taking that knowledge and using it for the future as well. Why do we do this? The process helps prior organizational knowledge makes sure that it's leveraged to produce or improve our project's outcomes. So making sure that we're getting the right outcomes by using the lessons that have been previously learned. And that knowledge is created by the project is available to support organizational operations and future projects or phases. We're wanting to make sure that that information is used in BAU as well, anything that we've learned throughout the delivery of our project. So knowledge is commonly split into two different types. Explicit knowledge, where it's really easy to see, it's easy to write down, it's very clear to know. So it can be readily codified, as they put it, using pictures and using numbers. This is stuff like, the measures from our project. So how is the schedule tracking? How is the cost tracking? And we can see how many activities have been done or completed. That's readily expressed with numbers or charts. However, tacit knowledge is more like your insights or a person's beliefs or experiences and know-how that people have sort of gathered over many, many years in an organization or a particular place. That can be more difficult to express. So you will see that on the exam as well, the difference between those two types of knowledge. From an organizational perspective, knowledge management is about making sure that those skills, experience, and expertise of the project team and other stakeholders are used before, during, and after the project. In practice, knowledge is shared using a mixture of knowledge management tools and techniques. So we've got tools like online forums or something similar, and techniques, which is our interactions between people. And that can be much more effective when you're with someone standing face to face and you can see them very clearly. Inputs, tools, and techniques, and outputs. We've got the project management plan as the input, so that's all of the components for the project management plan. Any project documents that we might need, the lessons learned register, deliverables that we're actually working on for our project, and enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets. Tools and techniques that you'll need are expert judgment, so the expertise of the subject matter experts in particular areas or from a particular project previously, knowledge management and information management, and interpersonal and team skills to gather all of that information and make sure that it's captured correctly. Outputs are our lessons learned register. So we're putting all of our lessons back into that lessons learned register for future use. Project management plan updates and organizational process assets updates, where we might be updating the templates for future use as well. And as you can see, we've got the project management plan, documents, project direct and managed project work, and EEFs and OPAs as our inputs into Managed Project Knowledge. And Managed Project Knowledge itself is an input into project management plan updates, project documents updates, and organizational process assets updates as well. So let's look at the inputs in more detail. We've got the project management plan, where any part of the project management plan will be an input. We'll need to reference any part of that, the scope management plan, the cost or the schedule, the risk, all of that will be an input into our organizational learning. Project documents, we'll need our previous lessons learned register, what have other projects learned, and what can we learn from those lessons. Project team assignments, the resource breakdown structure, so who is involved and who is doing what, and who do we need to gather that information from. Source selection criteria, and the stakeholder register, again, who's involved in our project and who are those subject matter experts. The deliverables as an input into our project. What we're saying there is the items that we're delivering as part of our project. So all of those will be an input because we need to know what we're delivering and what we need the knowledge and the previous lessons to be on. Enterprise environmental factors. We've got organizational, stakeholder, and customer culture. So is there a culture of learning? Is there a culture of no blame? So if someone can make a mistake freely and they can still, walk away with their dignity intact, is there a culture of, being able to learn from those previous mistakes and just take that forward and use that for future projects? A geographic distribution of facilities and resources. You'll know from Agile, we've got teams that are co-located. So is your team in the same place, sitting side by side, or are they in different rooms, different buildings, or different cities, or different countries? All of that will impact how you need to gather the information and how you need to disperse the information as well. Organizational knowledge experts. Is there a particular team that's got expertise in this area? Is there, or a particular person who's a real expert in this area? And legal and regulatory requirements and constraints. Organizational process assets as an input for managed project knowledge. We've got any policies or procedures or processes. So are there actual templates for gathering this knowledge? Are there previous processes that we can look at as part of the knowledge that we're gathering? Personnel administration. How are the teams onboarded? So if we're gathering new people into our project, how are they onboarded? Are they trained really thoroughly, or are they just given, a slapdash approach and go and do it yourself? You'll be fine. Or, is there a repository of information? How is that information gathered and told to our new members of the team? Organizational communication requirements. So are there any official channels for communication and formal knowledge sharing and information sharing procedures? Is there a retrospective, for example? So retro at the end of a 2 to 4 week sprint in Agile, we might be coming back to the team and saying, what went well, what did not go well, what did I learn, and what still puzzles me. And we can take that information and put that back into our project and use it for next time or the next iteration as we're continually evolving. Tools and techniques that we'll use. Now, expertise, expert judgment. We're going to need that from a lot of different people. It should be considered from individuals or groups with specialized knowledge or training in the following topics: for knowledge management, information management, organizational learning throughout the company. Who is that expert there? Knowledge and information management tools. So what sort of tools are we going to be using? Is it Confluence? Is it Jira? Is it SharePoint? Is it Microsoft Project? What is the tool that we're using, and who's the expert in that? How do we gather that information? And any relevant information from other projects that we might need. So what went well in another project and how can we leverage that for our project? Knowledge management. Tools and techniques for knowledge management are networking, communities of practice, if there are regular communities of practice, virtual meetings and in-person meetings. So all of these can be face-to-face or virtual as well. You could have online forums, discussion forums, storytelling, knowledge fairs, creativity and ideas management techniques like brainstorming or focus groups, and even special training, so actual training that everyone sits down officially for. All of this is part of the knowledge management tools and techniques. And information management is part of it too. So managing that information, we have the lessons learned register where all of our information goes back into, and library services. So could be a site like SharePoint where all of those lessons go into, similar to our lessons learned register. Information gathering, so web searches or leading articles, and project management information system. So this is where we're gathering all of the information about our project, how it's tracking, where the activities are up to, and that can feed into our lessons as well. Interpersonal team skills, we've got active listening, facilitation, leadership, networking, and political awareness. Of course, we have to be aware of how the work gets done in an organization, and you will need to facilitate meetings and perform active listening where you're replying and you're sort of reiterating what someone has said to you so that they understand and they know that you are understanding what they're saying. So all of that is very important as part of the communication techniques. Now the outputs for this particular process are the lessons learned register. So this is where all of the lessons that we gather, maybe from a retrospective or from any of the good things or bad things that we've experienced in our project, will go back into that repository of learning. And hopefully it's a central place that someone can use in the future for their own project as well. It's created as an output of this process early on, and thereafter it's used as an input for other processes throughout the entire project lifecycle. And you'll see this come up time and time again. Lessons are captured as a team. So usually we will get together in that retrospective style and ask those questions, how did everything go? And then make sure that that is captured into the lessons learned register. Project management plan updates. Of course, any part of the project management plan can be updated once a lesson is learned. And organizational process asset updates. Of course, the templates for our team. Anything that creates new knowledge. An existing idea for a new procedure is piloted and found to be successful. A new process asset can be updated as a part of this process. So maybe we're updating that process, maybe we're updating a template, maybe we're updating, the team information. Some of this knowledge is codified and embedded in the deliverables. Maybe we're delivering a new product or a new process, and that needs to go back into those lessons learned and into a new process that we're creating for a team. And those are all of the information and outputs for managed project knowledge as part of your project.